wrestling fans around the corner, around the world. I'm Dan Mirade.
And I'm John Cena Sr.
Our special Wrestling Insider special edition comes your way now.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there, live.
Johnny, it is unbelievable. Before WWE NXT in its new colors hit the airwaves tonight, before we have Wrestling Insiders Extreme at 10 p.m., we needed to hit the pause button. In an amazing way, I cannot believe that it is true, but it was 20 years ago tonight that we held the very first Boston Wrestling MWF event. And you want to talk about funny enough, tonight at 10 o'clock after NXT, we have our ECW-themed Wrestling Insiders Extreme show. It was from the former home of ECW in this area, Wonderland Greyhound Park in Revere, Massachusetts. I was about 2 months removed from the work I did with Ed Cohen in WWE, who along with Howard Finkel were the first two people hired by Vince and Linda McMahon when they bought the company from Vince McMahon Sr., which I still consider myself extremely grateful to have had that experience. I wish it lasted a few decades longer, but that's a different story for a different time. I think everyone says that. But I cannot believe it has been 20 years of this, Johnny. You've been around for almost 16 of it. So you've seen a lot of good. You've seen some things maybe you would have changed if it was under your control. You've seen a lot of Massachusetts. You saw a lot of North Carolina during the inside job days. But you know, we want to try and keep this upbeat and positive. It's kind of a very memorable day. It is almost, the Boston wrestling's almost old enough to drink.
At 20?
No. We got to wait till 21 next year.
I think you'll slip in one anyway.
No.
All right.
Next year.
All right.
I just can't believe, as a 21-year-old person myself and someone whose home I went to swimming when he was 2 years old, created this organization. Chairman Manolian and I went back that far, even though we didn't become great friends until later on in high school, competed against each other in Little League. I mean, that we created this, I don't know if monstrosity is the right word. I don't know if this home away from home for certain fans in certain wrestlers, it has been an amazing ride, Johnny. To think that I am now in my very, very, very early 40s, very, very early 40s, I still don't feel a day, I think, inside, older than I did the day we had our first event. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
No, that's a good thing, because you know what? I've been in the business a while, and your body tells you, don't worry. The outside may be looking older, but that youth that you have and your passion for the business, that's what's inside. That's what makes you feel young, makes you feel good.
The one thing that still to this day makes me sad is, you want to know the only thing that bothers me about this existing? Because if Tony Rumble was still alive, I don't think it ever would have happened. You know what I mean? Because he'd only be in his mid-60s right about now. Or, yeah, mid-60s. So I'm sure he'd still be active in the industry as much as he loved it. But, you know, it is what it is. Tony passed on. And right before I thought we were going to start doing this, I walked into that position to be able to work with Ed Cohen at WWF. And who would turn that down? But I remember being very sad about as low as one could go. And I said, you know what, we're going to go for the gold. And I remember as I was getting ready to head to the airport to head down to Mirade South down in Florida, we booked the event with Wonderland Greyhound Park, and it was off to the races. And I feel like the race has not stopped since. Despite several accidents, despite being blown up, despite becoming physically disabled, despite Linda Mirade disabling my brain in certain times, and the little Mirades coming into my world, and it has been an amazing journey that we have had, Johnny, in these 20 years. And again, you've been around for about 80% of it. I mean, think of the people that we've seen come. Think of the people that we've seen go. Think of the people that we've seen come again, even go again, like someone like Road Dogg, who headlined the first few events we had, and then, you know, he had his substance abuse issues that he's documented well. TNA was able to put together a deal for us to become friends and work together again, and it went great. And then, unfortunately, you know, he left TNA and he had more issues, and he vanished on us again. But one thing I want to say about Road Dogg, and there's a reason for that, Adev, you know, while the majority of our interactions with the Brotherhood are great, there are those, unfortunately, that from time to time, you know, I can probably name 10 to 15 over 20 years, which isn't that bad when you think about all the different humans we work with, but they do go south. Road Dogg is the only one that ever had the class, once he became in a better place in his world, to actually apologize for what he did. And for all those other people that chose to try and knife people in the back that only wanted to do right by them, I have all the respect in the world for Road Dogg, and I'll always have a lot of respect for Road Dogg for not only his service to the country, his contributions to the world of professional wrestling, being a part of what we did early on, but for actually having the class to take the time and apologize to the quote-unquote little guys he did wrong. I think that says a lot about him and his whole family.
I would agree 100% on that. I worked a couple of shows with him. He's a great human being. We all have our issues. He fought him, he lost, fought him again, lost, fought him and won. So for an individual to sit here with you or me and say, I was wrong, please accept my apology, that's a true man or a true woman. So kudos.
If I had a hat on, I'd tip it to him. And now look at the great work he's doing, helping groom the future stars of our industry down at NXT, like someone like Carmelo Hayes, Christian Casanova, who we've noted a couple of times was with your faction here in Boston Wrestling, and a lot of guys that have come through Boston Wrestling over the years that are down there in NXT right now. We wish all of them so much success anytime, whether it's AEW, Impact, NXT, WWE, anytime someone leaves us and goes there, there is that sadness to it if it's someone that we'd like to still have around with us, but the amount of pride that goes into it. And I think there is no one that I could be more proud of than the individual we know probably best as Warbeard Hansen. In WWE, the fans would know him as Ivar of the Viking Raiders. But I go back to 2002. Every Sunday, he'd pick up your old, one of your old best friends, is from what I'm told, Hollywood Ron Robinson, and they'd come down here to the studio, and Todd would just try and work on his promos, to the point he became a solid promo. Went 9-0 with our 9 Soul Survivors as we get ready to gear up for the 10th one in April, but now he's a Viking. I don't know. He doesn't really need to talk much, I guess, coming from overseas.
Well, all I'm going to say is this. I don't like the gimmick.
Well,
Doesn't mean I don't like the man.
Yeah.
I despise that gimmick.
You have someone like Tommaso Ciampa, your $1 million investment. Your man that you spent that uprising cash on. A man that wound up turning on you with not only Slick Wagner Brown, but WWE Intercontinental Champion at the time, John Bradshaw Layfield, and kicked the hell out of you out back on the loading dock.
Never forget, Tommaso blindsided me from behind along with Slick Wagner Brown. I was down, they were kicking me. I laid there. JBL took some Fabo bucks, shoved them in my mouth. They poured that disgusting power drink that he had down my throat. And JBL, as he stuffed the last spill in my mouth, I'll never forget, he looked at me and said, you should have drunk the Kool-Aid. And that was it.
But you know what, and you want to fast forward a couple of years, how did you get some revenge on Tommaso? In the only event in professional wrestling history, not in independent wrestling, not in a major league promotion history, the only event in wrestling history that featured a current Ring of Honor, current Impact Wrestling, and current WWE champion, all wrestling on the same show. Think of the politics that it took to put that together. When Eddie Edwards was a Ring of Honor champion, Jay Lethal was the X Division champion of Impact TNA, and Daniel Bryan was the United States champion in WWE, You wound up getting Daniel Bryan into an MWF ring as the United States champion, and he defeated Tommaso Ciampa at Memorial
Loved
Hall.
it, loved it, loved it. Loved it.
You loved it. You loved it.
You know, when Fabo gets mean or when Cena decides to get even, all I'm going to say is leg out. And you know what? Who's your buddy there? Cam, long hair, Zagami?
Not my friend.
Oh, please. You know what?
I think he out-hustled you a little bit.
No, he didn't out-hustle
He made some
me.
big money on Fox. I know that.
As a loser. As a loser.
Well, you get paid.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, as a loser.
For that kind of money that he claims he made? I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see how that figures itself out. We saw earlier this afternoon, you had actually laid down for our 20th anniversary a $20,000 challenge for the big one, November the 13th. I'm sure Cam is going to put up his 10 grand. You're going to put down 10 grand. You pick a wrestler, he picks a wrestler, and winner take all, 20 G's.
Winner take all.
Who are you going to pick?
Winner take all.
Who are you going to pick?
You know what? How about I do this? First of all.
Me?
First of all.
All right. No.
You got to make sure I'm going to show up.
If you're putting 10 G's up.
I put 50 G's up and not showing
Well,
up.
that's true. You're a wheeler and dealer.
So.
Just ask Encore.
But if I put up 10, all I'm going to say to you and the fans is, whomever I pick, I don't know who he's going to pick. Believe me, it will be the match of a lifetime. And I'm a man of my word. Zagami, I said it before and I'll say it again. It's winner take all. One of us stays in the hall. The other picks up his class and out the door along with his ass. One of us there will be smiling bright. The other will be in his car with his light shining bright. Driving out of Melrose, it's fair to say, Cam Zagami, you'll be on your way.
I don't know if staying in the hall with who works there would be a prize, though. But that's a different story for a different time. Again, we continue that trip down memory lane. You look at someone like Eddie Edwards. I remember him as a teenage, green-haired student from Killer Kowalski School. Yep. Went on to become one of the finest professional wrestlers, not only in this country, but in the world with the experience that he had over in Japan, as well as here as in Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor in the United States.
Yep.
The list can go on and on and on and on. The Uprising faction, that psycho stalker that you befriended and went on down to North Carolina with, Dylan Cage, the MWF Southern Heavyweight Champion. We won't talk too much about him, but certainly someone that contributed an awful lot to the company over the years. I mean, he had a 4-year run as the MWF Heavyweight Champion. As much as I detest him as a human being and wish his soul goes down south when his time comes to an end, you can't forget those types of things. You can't forget that Johnny, you look back at MWF history, the winner of the very first match on the very first event in company history was a man that's still with your former Uprising faction, Slick Wagner Brown. That's a 20-year tenure in the organization. That's pretty impressive. Brian Malonis made his debut in 2003. 18 years he's been with us.
I remember that. Yep.
Also part of the Uprising faction. I don't want to rub the salt in the wound.
Hope they're all going to be here.
Well, I'm telling you this, folks. Our 20th anniversary celebration, Saturday, November the 13th at Memorial Hall here in Melrose. It is going to be unbelievable. Because of what went on that's been well documented with AEW having to rearrange its pay-per-view, we had to rearrange some things. So we decided we're not going to give you a one-night celebration. We're going to give you a 6-month celebration beginning tonight through Saturday, April the 16th for Soul Survivor 10 at Memorial Hall here in Melrose. Again, the only thing that disappoints me about that, Todd Hansen, Warbeard Hansen, Viking Raider Ivar is 9-0 at Soul Survivor. I would have loved to have seen if he could have extended it to 10-0, but hopefully before it's all said and done, knock on wood, we'll get to see Todd back in an MWF ring at least one more time. Because this is someone that like I said, when I think of someone I'm proud of, someone I think of as a true friend, salt of the earth, so to speak, pure as the new fallen snow. You know what I mean? He's just a good good human being, everything he went through to get to where he got. And then even look at our sets. Look, Kofi Kingston competed here in Boston Wrestling. Finn Balor over there was Fergal Devitt before he went to New Japan for the first time. We worked with TNA Impact on promoting some live events, a pay-per-view, a fan fest with Hulk Hogan. We did the movie premiere on a week's notice with WWE and Lionsgate Film when we brought Stone Cold Steve Austin to Boston to watch his movie The Condemned with 200 diehard MWF fans. I mean, we've done some unique things in our time, Johnny. And that's just the wrestling aspect of it. Look at some of the interviews that have come out of this place. Did you ever think a crazy Sunday night on a toothless Iron Sheik appearance, a video that will go on to fame to be played daily for over a year on the Howard Stern Show with Sheiky Baby? He vanished. I really don't want to get into the reasons why on an upbeat little anniversary video like this, but we had a hard time even finding the man that day for the reasons they were. But the video where we talked about doing a little bit of a lot of humbling, it became video magic. It was one of the first videos when YouTube was kind of a new thing back in 2005 that went viral, seen by millions of people on YouTube, millions more on the Howard Stern Show. Our little baby. It's amazing to me. I don't know. What more can you say?
I'm speechless.
You're speechless. What's your favorite? You know what? What's your least favorite memory of your 16 years associated with us?
If I said all 16 years, you'd be heartbroken. I really don't know. There's been so much that's gone on in 16 years here, and the ins and outs, the roundabouts, the people we've interviewed, Holly Race, the Boogeyman, Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff. I really don't know. I've had a lot done to me in MWF.
You have been violated in
not
many ways,
not only by...
some you brought on yourself, but we won't go there.
Not only by Ciampa, but by you, throwing boxes at me.
What was a cane?
Yeah, that's right. There's so many things that I could sit and look back on.
That beating you took out back with the energy drinks was pretty rough.
That was
pretty rough.
No question about it.
I wouldn't have wanted that done to me. Because remember, before you can laugh about the energy drinks, but before that happened, I mean, you had two athletes in peak physical condition assault you from behind and throw you into wooden pallets and put the boots to you.
Yeah, I was first hit the ladder,
yeah,
and then hit the floor on the pallets, rolled to the floor, and then...
and then they humiliated
I
you.
remember...
But first it was physical abuse.
Ciampa and him wouldn't stop kicking. Ciampa more so than Slick Wagner Brown. That was kind of a bad thing. That was not a good thing. You know what?
How about a favorite?
I suppose my favorite memories of working with MWF were my times with Bill Moody, with Paul Bearer. We had a lot of fun in that ring. He and I would connect at the airports when we were going down to North Carolina, wherever we were going.
Nathan's hot dogs.
And he loved Nathan's hot dogs. Not one either.
No, the plural.
Yeah, and we discussed, should the Undertaker streak end? Answer to that was never. What do you think about MWF? He had his own opinions. What do you think of Dan Mirade? He had his own opinions. So I think that was very memorable for me, to be able to work with an individual who I'd watched on TV. I guess I should say that those other memories of working and interviewing those individuals that I watched as a child, Orndorff, Sheik, Holly Race, just having the experience to work with them. See, when I worked the shows here, same thing. So those are memorable. I suppose the worst thing that I could think about might be that beating out back. That was probably one of the toughest I've taken.
You want to know what I'm forgetting? Again, you talk about an independent wrestling promotion doing something like this. What about the big Soul Survivor 7 press conference at the TD Boston Garden? Other than WWE and WCW, what wrestling promotion have you seen in there having a ticketed event?
None.
I mean, we really have done some cool, crazy, amazing things. Has it gone right all of the time? No. Has it gone right most of the time?
Maybe.
No.
Maybe.
But, well, we'd like to think so. And we know the talk shows of one thing, especially during, did we ever think we'd see something called coronavirus shut our world down
Never.
when we started?
Never in 100 years.
I mean, it's almost eerie to compare, but our first live event was just a couple of weeks after 9/11. And the world was a very eerie, crazy place for a little while after 9/11. You
That was
mean even
crazy.
the mail right after 9/11 with anthrax and all of that for a couple of weeks. People were afraid to go to the mailbox.
Afraid
And
to
we're
go.
trying to get people to buy tickets to go to a wrestling show.
It was horrible.
I mean, we've experienced some crazy times. We've lived through some crazy times. Knock on wood, we're going to live through a lot more crazier times, and we're going to continue to get through them. But you know what? When you think back to people like the Jackal, who was instrumental in helping us get off the ground, old President Franklin D. Churchill, who gets forgotten about sometimes, Paul Bearer, who we never forget, who we have our toy drive after, and just, you know, all of the people that often get forgotten, the people that help out at the events doing the camera work, that sell the T-shirts, that set up the ring, that sell the food, that sell the tickets. You know, without those people, you don't have events. You don't have events. You know, the superstars that sometimes that go out of their way to try and make an event, that sometimes have to give up life commitments or family commitments to try and make the events. You don't forget those types of people. So while, you know what, some people say, oh, they like the dirt on, well, what happened with this one? What happened with that one? For every, like we just noted, one negative person or situation we encountered, there might be 20 to 25 great ones. You know what I mean? And those to me mean just as much, because I'll carry those with me in a much more positive place than I will the negative ones. But, you know, from day one, when two crazy 21-year-old kids decided to get this rolling, to today when we're not 21, you're the only one that doesn't age, I don't think. We look forward to bringing you another 20 years, another 40 years. Oh, my God. I'd be in my 80s. Can I still be doing this then?
I don't think I'll be here, but
I don't know about that. You got that young blood in you, baby.
we'll see.
You're an Italian. I think I know we can do at least another 20. But between the great studio shoot interviews, the talk shows that we do on a 7-night-per-week basis, we just hope you appreciate it a little bit. And when it comes to our live events, come on out. We want to give you the time of your life. The great nonprofit organizations we work with, we want to continue to put smiles on those kids' faces that need it and deserve it, and are the true superstars. Those are the things, when I look back upon what we've done, that make me smile. And the fact that baby Mirade himself, who's no baby anymore, has certainly found such joy in the craziness that's become the surroundings of his life as a result of what we've done. He's the one that motivated me to, you know, I could have been a person after that accident that sat around every day taking pain pills in my pajamas watching Judge Judy, but instead try to motivate myself and get out of bed and be a productive person and at least try to put goodwill into the world. I don't always succeed, but none of us are perfect, as we know.
Amen.
But, you know, I thank you very much for everything you have contributed. You know, we can even knock the North Carolina inside job, but for better or worse, when you look at it as a company as a whole, it was quite a coup.
It worked.
For a regional independent company, for us to be based here in New England, to get down to the North Carolinas, kick ass and set records for the company.
Yep.
I mean, you, Paul Bearer,
Filled the
I mean,
hall.
I wish Dylan wasn't involved in it, but you know what? It happened. It's part of our history. We can only look at it for what it is, and it was, for us, monumental. And who knows, there may be more of those adventures yet to come in North Carolina and other places. I look at some of our WrestleMania weekend adventures we've had all over the country. I look at our Cauliflower Alley Club adventures we have almost annually in Las Vegas. There's just been so much. I can't believe it's been 20 years. I think, you know what's crazy? When some of the support staff and the help weren't even born or were babies when the first event happened. That makes me think, wow, we really have done something unique, something special, something that's touched people over the years. Between money we've raised for nonprofit organizations and just your regular fans that have come out for a great night of pro wrestling. Not just to me, I've never wanted to present just a quote-unquote wrestling show. I have always wanted it to be an event. For when you leave, you really feel like you had a life memory, whether it be an autographed photo, a picture, a simple handshake, something where you're so close to the ring, it's almost like you feel like you're inside of it, where it's so intimate, what we do compared to a larger company like WWE. And I think more often than not, when it comes to those types of things, I think we've done really good.
I would agree.
Johnny, if you could fast forward, I know you don't think you got another 40 in you, but if you could say 5 years from now, what do you think we'll be up to?
Bigger, better, more production, better shows, bigger shows, probably be in other locations, might even have the fabulous world of women's wrestling. Never know about that one.
You never
more
know.
Fan base. Hopefully we'll be opening up the studio so fans can come in and participate.
We'd love to have, can't wait to have him back on a regular basis.
That was a great thing to have.
That was a lot of fun.
Yep, we had the interviews and, even for the watch the pay-per-views. Hopefully all things will change. 5 years from today, we'll all have grown up a little bit. We'll all be a little bit better, a little bit wiser, and we probably will contribute more to society and to the overall well-being of America and just the fans in general.
How about that? Talk about positive and upbeat. So again, to everyone that has contributed in some way, shape, or forms, I just don't want to thank wrestlers. I just don't want to thank superstars. I just don't want to thank nonprofit organizations and venues, the folks that help in the studio, the folks that help with the filming of the events. Again, T-shirt sellers, ticket sellers, food sellers. Everybody is important because without every single piece of the 500-piece jigsaw puzzle, we don't have the puzzle. I think it's important to remember and thank everybody, especially those that we lost and we still wish were here with us. Hopefully we're still doing them proud too.
Not gone, only changed. They're
That's
still
right.
here.
They're still with us in spirit. So for John Cena Sr., I'm Dan Mirade. Again, please, if you want to experience some of these 20 great years, the Patreon is a great place to be. It helps keep Wrestling Legends working. It helps us keep the lights on and bring you more great content. You get early, full screen, early access to Wrestling Insiders, plus the Studio Shoot Interview DVD library we mentioned that's been seen by millions online, millions on Howard Stern Show, along with some cool Patreon exclusive content at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling for the streaming experience of your life. And we humbly invite you to the 2 tentpole events of our 20th anniversary. The first is coming up much sooner than we think, Johnny. Saturday night, November the 13th, from the historic Memorial Hall in Melrose, Massachusetts. That is going to be a party you guys aren't going to forget, with a bit of a 90s flair to it. Tickets and VIP packages on sale now at bostonwrestling.com. And then the celebration continues through the Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive in honor of this man who we miss so much. We're going to have another Wrestle House down in Tampa in December to try and help the Toy Drive cause, to update Santa's GPS. And as that calendar flips to 2022, believe it or not, we get ready for Soul Survivor 10, back to the 80s, Saturday night, April the 16th, again, from our home of Memorial Hall in Melrose. So from our home to your home, every time you've been with us, we hope you feel like part of you has been at home. That has been our goal. So for John Cena Sr., I'm Dan Mirade. We'll see you next time. We'll see you next year. We'll see you next decade. You and yours be well. Good night from Boston.
Thank you for joining us. Please give the video a big thumbs up, leave us a comment, and subscribe to the channel to enjoy more great content. Don't forget, you can help keep Wrestling Legends working. Check out our eBay store and join the Boston Wrestling family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling so we can produce more in-depth shoot interviews.